We're rolling.
Is this the wrong one? Where's the beat?
The Babbling Heads podcast.
So after Arsenal on the beat.
Need to get some of the hot sauce. Call the man up, hit the man up. Ask Nicci does deliver. 40 in the portal. Fee, warme hot sauce. It stings going in and it stings even more going out.
He sold out apparently.
Away. Yo, what's up? This is the Babbling Heads podcast. This is the Base 187.
And DJ Fingaz, JoeZone.
Charlie X2C.
And today we have one of the pioneering podcast creators in the Western Cape. We welcome Nicci Notes.
Hi, Nicci.
Hello.
So,
How's everybody doing this morning?
nou we're lekker.
We all good?
Was een beetje af en als een ball game af.
Yeah, gremlins in the system trying to sing.
But we're making it work. Check, let's start off by introducing yourself and saying where it all began for you and that type of thing. Because the thing is, there's a lot of podcasters popping up, but they don't necessarily understand what a podcast is, the difference between a podcast and an internet radio, as an example. So tell us how you started and what was your inspiration and all that business.
So how did I start? So Nicci Notes in personality, persona, character, everything started when I started blogging. So initially the blog was supposed to be like a rant because I always had like a lot of thoughts going through my mind and I am a very opinionated person. And it was like, okay, if I need to say something, I'm going to say it and I'll put it out there. Like I'm going to play basically. And I like writing as well. And then from the blog, during that time, there was a lot of blogs going around. And then there was one specific event that happened, or there was one specific weekend that a lot of similar events happened, and then everybody was blogging about it. And I was like, everybody's blogging from their own perspective, but there's no conversation around it. And the conversations below those particular blog posts were all subjective to that person's point of view and there was like, there's nothing that actually like, not contradicted one another, but there was nothing that challenged one another. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to do, that was when Facebook then started their going live feature. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to make use of this feature and I'm going to go live because then there is that person that's going to like give me a different point of view whilst speaking about it, or there's going to be someone that's going to basically give me a different perspective. And then Samsung S4, was it a mini? No, it was just a Samsung S4, 3 ornament thing. I wish I actually had it, but I don't anymore. On 3 books. And that was my first live. And then basically from there, one of the guys that saw that was like, listen here, have you ever thought of doing this like consistently? Based on the blogs, based on this that you've now started, do you want to do this? And I was like, no, I wasn't really looking into it. Okay, but let's do it. And then, I went into studio every Thursday, different topics. Oh, it wasn't different topics per se. It was supposed to be different topics. But it became more of like highlighting events, entertainers, artists, things, industries that's happening that doesn't necessarily get that highlight. So like, if I had to take cars, for example, I had Cape Toner and I had Drift City. There wasn't a lot of highlights on cars, or funnily enough, at that point in time, or close to that time, there was all the articles about drag racing that's happening. And I was like, but there's different sides to this, guys. Like, you get people that make irresponsible choices, yes. But at the same time, there is safe and responsible platforms where people do this because it's what they want to do. It's not that it's bad, it's just that.
That's their choice, yeah.
So that was basically how it all started. And then from there, it went into Nicci Knows Radio. Yeah, and then obviously we're off air now because of COVID restrictions and stuff. And I'm in isolation, so for the third time.
Yeah,
Seriously, third time?
Yeah. That's hence why she couldn't be in the show today.
Yeah, now I thought it was the first time. Jy op so rondloop so met. You must be a whole body.
You know, the funny thing, okay, so the first time it happened was actually when COVID became real. So we had a case, not we had a case, but we had a scare at work. So 2 weeks before, the president actually said, listen here, nobody's working. We had a scare in the office. And then they were like, guys, just go now. And then I came up, like, that was the 14th of March. And then I started working from home that time already. And then, so the first time was work. The second time was my birthday. On my birthday, I went into isolation.
That's a quiet way to dodge having the party, having to host the party. You know, just how everyone no birthday party this year. I got COVID. I have to isolate.
So when it came to my birthday party, I actually flipped it up and I did like a charity drive for my birthday. So like on the day of my birthday, I was doing deliveries. And then, like after I think the 6th or the 7th delivery, one of the people that was helping out, they were notified that they were exposed. So then, subsequently, that meant that we were exposed.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, shut down. Sorry, I slept with like 27 boxes of food in my house that I couldn't deliver because I'm like stuck in isolation. But I'm like, okay, cool, fine. You know, it will happen when it has to happen. And then now this time around it was because one of my daughter's friends tested positive. So yeah, so now we're all in isolation. And they were just 4 friends that were together for that friend's birthday party. And so I'm like, okay, how is it that there's 4 girls that get together for something so simple? And it's such a small gathering, and yet now it's 4 households that's in isolation, and there's 3 classrooms because all the girls are in different classes that now all have to.
But with that being said, having been in isolation, thrice already now, you've never actually contacted the disease. So
touch wood.
Touch wood. Okay, cool. So back to when I was first introduced you, where I first came across you. That's back in the days when you and Daniel Buse were on Bush Radio. So
yes, Daniel.
How did you find the transition from traditional terrestrial radio to podcasting? Would you have done anything different?
I think when it comes to traditional radio versus podcasting, there's more freedom.
Yeah.
The only you are restricted in radio because of the rules and regulations. But a lot of those rules and regulations are just tied into decency and respect, I think. But there's nothing that limits you from being opinionated and having a different opinion and being able to express that opinion in podcasting. That's one difference. The only other, further than that, it's like in terms of content preparation, again, it's very much more, not systematic, but there's more programming and scheduling that you need to abide by. So you have like rules in a radio play that you need to follow, and audio time and speech time. And then when it comes to podcasting, you don't have to limit yourself. I mean, you can play music for an hour straight and then just talk for like 15 minutes during those hours of music that you play.
But
Not that
That's radio.
that's internet radio then, huh?
that would be no. So you see, so your radio is an internet. It's an online radio station. It had an FM license, but is now we're moving over to another FM station, if that makes sense. But also, when it comes to that, we need to get ICASA's approval and the broadcasting approval, etc. So that's what has to happen still. But with podcasting, you can basically run it the same as an internet radio station. But podcasting is obviously more segmented. So with podcasting, you can have musical breaks. That makes sense. But like podcasting is like more like, okay, so the topic at the end is apples, and we're going to discuss the Apple industry. So
my understanding of it is the spoken word. I think once you add music to it, it becomes internet radio. I think podcasting is just the spoken word. That's my thing, because that's what I fell in love with. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Look at this. I don't. In all honesty, I never thought of myself as a podcaster. It was just me talking.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No. You say finish what you want to say.
No, like if you've ever been with me, like whether it be on Nicci Notes or whether it be in radio, you'd know that me and speaking don't come easily. Sounds weird after having 10 minutes of conversation now.
True.
For me, like this is quite an interesting discussion because I actually had a question about it a bit further down. The way I look at it, and I had the JoeZone podcast, and that was actually pre-recorded, and a lot of your early stuff was actually live shows. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them were live.
All of them were live, and you had a lot of.
I didn't like the
pre-recorded.
What I didn't like, but I wasn't a fan of recording and then having to edit.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, once it's out, it's
Tell
out.
me about that.
Which is what we are actually struggling with, and it actually it comes to my point. Like there's a live show versus a pre-recorded show, and that's where how I think of it. Like a podcast is more like a pre-recorded show, and a live show is more interaction based on the audience, and because I know your shows were a lot of audience based, like interaction, like the audience used to ask you questions and so on. So that's the way I see it. But the first time I got introduced to you was on the EFC side of things. Tell me how you got into the EFC media. Like I don't know if people know that about you, but you actually were also a pioneer in the Cape Town in the ENC media area as well. And the EFC is not I don't know if they're bankrupt now or what's going on with them. So I don't know if they're gonna put out more shows. But are you gonna get back into it with the EFC, or are we gonna work together at the EFC or something like that?
I honest to God hope so. Like not EFC particularly, but more the MMA industry and combat sports. That's my baby. Like it sounds weird. I'm a girl and
How
I
did
like
you get
all this
into it?
violence, but it's so again it comes down to industries within Cape Town that were not being highlighted but were actually part of Cape Town. So I work for I work for MMA Africa. So MMA Africa was Joburg based, and they only could cover Joburg and Durban. Joburg and Durban events. But then they started to become more of a Cape Town presence when it came to the MMA industry and combat sports. So then they saw my work, and they were like, listen here, one night, went to N1, met up with Stephen. Oh, what's Stephen's surname now? Oliver. And then he said, listen here, we need someone to represent us in Cape Town. Would you be interested in this? And I was like, first and foremostly, I can't tell the difference between a crossbar, armbar. I don't know the difference between any of those positions. So he's like, no, you don't necessarily need to know all the technical details. You just need to be there to report and then like live tweets. And again, I didn't have any, not interest, I didn't have any experience in live tweeting. And Ryan, you know how quickly a fight can happen. Like you blink and you don't see something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I was like, okay, you know what? Let me take on this challenge. And then the first fight that I had to report for was an EFC fight.
Okay.
And what I didn't know is that I was the only female at the media desk, which made it very weird. But also that one of the guys that's also in the EFC media spectrum, whether it be communications or public relations, I don't know exactly, worked with my cousin. So he knew me by surname, and he was like, oh, okay, cool. And then it was just like, listen here, where there's Nicci, just call her because like, she has reached. And I was like, okay. And that's, besides being a fan of it, besides being slightly obsessed with it, that's how I got involved in EFC. And then, like I said, EFC is one organization, whereas there is PFC, there's PFA, there's Tri-4 Fight Nights.
Yeah, there's quite a few in Cape Town.
There's a lot of events happening in Cape Town around combat sports that were not highlighted at that time, but now it's like starting to catch on, and there are like more people that are more vocal about it and involved in it. And then I look like a dummy because I'm just
But you're still a pioneer in it, man, and we salute you for that. Like.
So, like, since you're one of the first South African podcasts around, how do you feel now with the market now having like close to, I think it's like 20 podcasts? Do you feel the quality of podcasts are being diluted by those that don't really know or understand the true nature and essence of podcasts?
I don't want to say that. I said I'm more along the lines of there are podcasts that's happening that are. I'm going to be annoyed by what I'm going to say now. There's a difference between people that start their podcast because they actually want it to be quality, and then there's a difference between people that are starting podcasts because they want to start podcasting, so therefore they believe that the amount of podcasts that they put out there is going to gain them relevance in some sort of way. So there is podcasts that are out there that's like, I always give you like a month, but then I can sometimes surmise in like 2-3 episodes whether or not I'm actually going to listen to you going forward. So there are podcasts that are out there that I thoroughly enjoy. And then there are podcasts that are out there where I'm like, I don't understand why you're keeping on. Like you've niched yourself down to an audience that is specifically your friend at the end of the day. It's not you're not out there making podcasts because you actually want to do something. You're doing it because you want to have a platform for your brass. And your brass are entertained by this, so therefore we're going to continue with it.
So the problem with that is, so the radio is already like a gateway. It's like a gatekeeper platform type of thing.
Yes.
TV as well. So podcasting is supposed to be to free up everything. But now what you're saying is they doing exactly what traditional radio and TV
what's
would
happening
do.
in media.
You know what I'm saying? So So with
that's
that,
exactly, because if like when I started my blog, no did I ever think that I would have to go into studio one day and start having to speak about things because I have this voice and I have this presence and I've now built this persona where you're going to be this person. Like, never did I think that. I, honest to God, thought that I was going to write blogs where I complain about everything that is annoying me. So, and then it developed into that. But I think the more I looked into the different things that I was doing, so like the more I looked into blogs and the effects of blogs and the effects of the spoken word, the written word, sorry, the more it was like, okay, understand that you are putting yourself in a position where you might either break someone down or build someone up. And then I chose to, that is when I was like, okay, if I can create a platform that eliminates gatekeepers, then that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to strive to do. I'm going to strive to have that person who doesn't necessarily have the access and the opportunity to access a platform like radio and say, listen, here's something you can jump off of. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but I'm availing it for you. And that's what I've been doing or been striving to do it.
No, that's dope. That's dope.
I heard I picked up on something that you said in that whole in that but there, and it was like something about being conscious of the content that you put out. Like instead of putting out like 10,000 things about, instead of putting out a whole lot of content about that's maybe not important or that's maybe going towards advertising towards the dark side, like I don't know, this is just a stupid example, but maybe you pushing a wrong product or something like that. But you must be more conscious of what you're putting out, and even if you're saying stuff, be conscious of it. And I don't know, both you and I don't put out that much content, like, because we're wary of who we have on.
I've actually stopped putting out content. I've stopped putting out content for different reasons. So, like, I stopped putting out content. But there is that will and that fire in me that wants to go back into it. But I want to go more back into it behind the scenes. I don't want to... but again, even when I was trying to do it behind the scenes, people were saying, no, you need to put yourself out there. And I was like, why? Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah, you
like
can.
the second
This
time
is the
I
Wild
swear.
Wild West.
Welcome to the Wild Wild West. You were saying?
So, yeah, I don't know if you can get into that story, but there's a reason why I've just stopped putting out content.
Like even if you're gonna put
But I
out
do want to get back.
from a comedy perspective, like if you're gonna and this is a comedy podcast, you know, if you or anything, if you're gonna put out artwork or anything, people is gonna react to it a certain way, and not everybody's gonna react to it in a positive way. So we all are ready for that, like to happen. And sometimes we say the wrong things, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can make mistakes and say the wrong things, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have a bad heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but there is other stuff out there with people with bad hearts, I think.
Yeah.
And then maybe that is not the right place to be. That's just my perspective. That's just my perspective. Maybe. I don't know.
No, but you like I can agree with you on that point because sadly there are people that are putting out content for malicious reasons.
There we go. For malicious reasons. Sorry, I'm saying it the wrong way.
And no. You said it the best way you could possibly put it out there. But there is people that are putting out content for malicious reasons, and there is the sad part about it is the fact that they've gained such a faithful following that the people that are following them, won't call them out on it, and also will fuel that and have it make, like, they will basically fuel it. And it's just like, okay, it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can only control the things that are within your control, and if that's what people want to do, then that's what people want to do at the end of the day.
And that's like a fine line that we're facing. I mean, if you're looking in America now, you have basically the left and the right, and both of them think they are correct in terms of their views. I think the fact also is that now we have to, as much as we hate it, and as much as their content or views are malicious and aligned to policies that could be harmful to other races or groupings of people, at the end of the day, they have a right to their opinion, and they have the right to their freedom of speech. And all we can do is counter them by putting out more positive content or getting our views across, and just hope that we can change the narrative. We can just reach that one person within the grouping and say, look, let me just try and change your mind. Look at it from this perspective. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a long battle. And obviously in this podcast space, the majority of us are not being funded. We don't have sponsors. We don't have backers, etc. So we don't have reserves to tap into. So this is our passion, and it's not our 9 to 5s, but it could reach a level where it becomes profitable. I mean, we get to be like the likes of the Joe Buddens and Joe Rogans, etc., where you have major endorsement deals for Spotify, or you go privately and you have amassed that following. But for now, we've been like working on this now for the past 3 years, 2 years now that we have content out. But it's been a labor of love, a labor of passion, and it's been a labor of learning from our mistakes.
Yes.
I mean, we've said things that we've had to edit out, but now we're at a level now where we don't edit. Like this will be uploaded. It's pre-recorded. It's be uploaded, but there's absolutely no edits. So all the editing is done on the fly. So we have Charlie X2C on the desk there. He's controlling the audio and the switching of the visuals. So we're at that level now where technology has allowed us to have the equipment that we can do this.
Okay. I think we got still 5 minutes left for this.
Yeah.
For the Zoom thingy.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to switch over to Skype after this.
Yeah, after this one. Check here. What I wanted to say was what I've learned so far when it comes to having a good heart, but wanting to say something. I've learned that you need to just be economical with your words, man. And that's what I've learned. Like mistakes that I've made. I'm not what I said was wrong, but it may be the way I said it that could hurt somebody else, man.
Yes, yeah. Like I've realized, man, as a rapper now, het ek gerealize ook, man, the way jy dinge sê, man, it's called delivery, man, and how you deliver your words, man, bro. Like for example, ek gaan nou by hom beskof klink, nou. Like for example, if you say, yo, die man is just me, bro. And I say, yo, die man is just me, bro. Yo, die man is just me, bro. Like it's the same sentence, but the way I say the tone, man.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And
It's like the way I would say hello. There's 100 meanings that come out of it. It's a greeting and a warning all in one.
I just wanted to point out something that I picked up, like that I've learned since I've moved in here. Here in this room, which you get checked. Like, so if you, not in like a bad way, like in a good way. So I don't feel, or even if I had to make a mistake or go down a wrong way, I think that these guys in the room will like help me, assist me to get around the right way. And also in how I'm thinking and processing thoughts. So I just thought that with the three of us, with more of us here in the room, for me, I'm enjoying it. But anyway. It's got to do with the sister.
Not a lot of people can handle that criticism, eh? If you tell them
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, if you tell them, dude, you fucked up there, whatever. Not a lot of people can handle that.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of a
the ego death.
EQ, no? What do you call it?
Emotional
quotient. It's emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence.
And ek het baie emotional
EQ.
EQ, yeah. But so we're gonna sign off.
We're gonna wrap this up. Nicci, we wish you well for the rest of your isolation, and when you do clear that, we would like to invite you over for a dope and a chop and a bit of a MMA session here.
Yeah, it would have been good to see you in studio, Nicci. Like, but yeah.
I was looking forward to the food. That's
exactly.
Like the winning part of the invitation.
Ja, die mense gaan aan breinpotjie ook nog vandag.
And smoke. And we're gonna smoke.
We're gonna drop it off. We're gonna drop it over by our house.
But yeah, awesome. Have a good one. From us, the Babbling Heads. Peace out.
Thank you for coming on.
Shot, Nicci. Thanks. See you.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Thank you.
Cheers. Oh wait. Wiki.
That was Nicci.
Love the ink, by the way, Nicci.
Oh. Which one?
The Babbling Heads podcast.
Oh wait.
Safe.
Peace.